I actually changed my subject a little bit, forgot to change the title, so I'm actually presenting on Iowa post office murals as compared to the work of Grant Wood. So at the beginning of the summer, my plan was to focus my research on Grant Wood and other regionalist artists whose work were located in the Johnson Museum. As I read more about the subject, I realized that it had been extensively researched from a lot of different angles, which made it hard to find something new to research. And as I read more about Grant Wood's viewpoints, I thought that he was kind of closed-minded, which made it difficult to enjoy reading about his work and theories on art. So I continued to read more about the Great Depression era and found areas that interested me more, and the area that I found most interesting that had not very much research on it was post office murals, and hundreds were made during the Great Depression, and so I decided to narrow it down a little bit to Iowa, which is my home state. So the post office murals were done by the Treasury Department section of Fine Arts throughout the 1930s and 40s. So I'll just give a little bit of background to that. As part of President Roosevelt's New Deal, many programs were made for people who were having trouble supporting themselves. Among these were art programs that supported artists throughout the United States. In 1933, George Biddle wrote a letter to the president requesting that the New Deal adopt a program where artists would paint murals in federal office buildings. As a result of this letter, Roosevelt created the Public Works of Art project, which was later called the Section of Fine Arts. A man named Edward Bruce was called to head the program, which was intended to increase the government's patronage of quality arts as well as expose the American public to art in their everyday life, which would result in the elevation of taste in art. The government reserved 1% of budgets of the new federal buildings to reserve for decoration. The murals were an easy and cost-effective way to decorate these buildings, most of which were post offices. The murals were a very important part of the new buildings, and the section was in charge of commissioning them. The artists employed by the section did not have to be financially needy, which was different than a lot of programs at this time, but they had to demonstrate that they had artistic skill. Competitions were held to ensure the quality of the art produced, along with the processes of the murals being made was heavily monitored. Along with wanting to increase the artistic exposure to the American public, the section also wanted to reestablish hope and belief within the American people because the Great Depression had caused a lowering in morale. So they wanted to recapture the faith of the American people in the American government. The Midwest has always been known for its strong character and conservative ideals, and so it makes it an interesting place to study the themes that were present throughout the murals. Iowa had over 30 murals that were made during the 30s and 40s. And I found that they had followed along 4 main themes and had a lot of similarities and differences with Grant Wood. So I'll start by discussing the 4 main themes. The most common theme was portraying scenes that the most common theme was portraying rural Iowa life. So this painting by William Henning is called Iowa Farm Life. It's located in Manchester, Iowa. As you can see, it portrays a common Iowa farm theme. This is probably not one of the more common ones because it's not about agriculture. As you can see, it depicts a dairy farmer on the left working, and then in the middle there's an Iowa landscape with common scenes of the barn and the cows. Then on the right, you can see the profits of his work. He created a modest lifestyle for his family. So that's probably the most common theme that was depicted. Another theme throughout the Iowa post offices was the local history of the town. history of the town was a common theme that was portrayed. This is Pella, Iowa, actually where I'm from. It shows the local history of Pella. History was a subject that the government thought was safe because it wasn't really controversial. And so artists were supposed to go into the towns where they were painting these murals and interact with the people to see what was important to them in their history. In Pella, their Dutch background is important. Pella was founded in 1847 by a group of people from the Netherlands, led by Dominee Scholtien. They were seeking relief from famine and religious freedom from the state church of the Netherlands. The name Pella actually means city of refuge, so it seemed appropriate for the town as a safe haven from their troubled past. In the mural you can see on the left is the oppression that they faced in the Netherlands. The windmills and the Dutch buildings established that it's in Holland. The people in chains are following the soldiers' orders. Hope for a bright future in America is represented in the middle with the boat that is highlighted pink brightly compared to the other sides. Dominee is preaching and leading a prayer, showing the importance of the Dutch Reformed Church and Pella's culture. And on the right, you can see that this is their settlement in the United States. They are, it's not long after they settled there because they're still in their Dutch costumes, so, but the hope of the bright future is represented through the children who are being led to the Dutch Reformed Church. Third theme was shows that although the artists were supposed to go into the towns and interact with people, they often didn't and relied on the postmaster's point of view, which was often skewed. An example of this is Independence, Iowa. It's called Postman in the Storm. It reflects the message that the postmaster wanted to send, and this painting quite obviously speaks to the resilience of the postal service. Shows the postman delivering post in the middle of a blizzard, which is not common weather in Iowa. He can be out delivering the mail even when the cars can't even move. So yeah, that was definitely a theme that did not represent the wider community values, but the values of the postmaster and the U.S. Postal Service. A final theme within the Iowa Post Office murals is depicting the importance of agriculture in the state. This is a mural from Ames, Iowa, called Evolution of Corn. It's a little bit unique for the Iowa Post Office murals. It decorates the wall above the postmaster door, as most of these murals do. As the title suggests, the mural represents the history of corn. On the left side, we see a lion man wearing a loincloth and hoeing the earth to maintain its crops. You can see Mayan symbols around that represent their beliefs about agriculture. In the center, you see corn depicted itself, different parts or different stages of its development. And on the right is a modern scene of a farmer in Iowa. The poses reflect each other. And then modern technology is celebrated. There's molecules that are labeled, which celebrates the technological advances within the state of Iowa and the importance of agriculture in the state. General perceptions of these murals were positive. The scenes were not often controversial and catered to the values of the people. The style, as we see, is soft, flat, with bright colors. Nostalgic images were often produced, which made them similar to the art of Grant Wood. Like the murals installed in the post offices, Grant Wood painted positive themes with perfected details. Wood was part of the Regional School of American Art, which was based on a realistic depiction of the American scene, values and its people. Wood claimed that his paintings were to be carefree and aimed to make them as beautiful as possible with bright, abstracted scenes. You can see this in his painting, Stone City, Iowa. This is actually located in the Johnson Museum. Like Murals, produced from the section, Wood wanted to portray Iowa and the Midwest as an ideal place to live. This helped improve the image of Iowa. However, he was very bitter towards the city and modern advances in technology, celebrated by several of the murals produced by the section, such as the one in Ames, Iowa. Like the section murals, this painting displays an Iowa landscape. There's no evidence of modern machinery in this painting. There's no combines, which were created by this time, or tractors. Unlike the section, Wood did not paint to elevate the general culture of the United States. He believed in spreading a new kind of art that revolted against the influence of European nations and against art that celebrated the life of the city. He believed that the Great Depression actually had positive aspects, such as the turmoil it created that sent people back to the roots of simple and positive rural life. So yeah, overall the section artists created their style, or credited their style to the regionalist artists such as Grant Wood. The section took a more positive outlook, although that was probably due to government censorship. So I'm planning on publishing my findings in the spring, and yeah, using my research for graduate school. So yeah, I'd like to thank the College of Arts and Sciences for the opportunity to research this, Dr. Averett for his help, and my parents and grandparents. As part of my research, I documented the post office murals that were around Iowa. So I traveled around Iowa and took pictures of the post office murals, talked to the postmasters. A lot of them gave me information about the specific murals. So my parents and grandparents were really nice and took up some of that on the weekends and stuff. So yeah, thanks a lot.